Today in our lineup here in the Now, we're going to be talking about better benefits at work. Target's the latest company to add childcare help for its workers. So we're taking a look at the pressure that companies are feeling right now to add these kinds of benefits. Plus this.
We've grown 4 or 5-fold since we started in 2015. We've went from a few $100,000 a year in revenue to now somewhere around $4.5 to $5 million in revenue.
Marijuana is big business, but you may be surprised to find out who's keeping that money secure since it can't go to a bank. And the places you may not have thought about where you could find money that belongs to you, we're going to show you where and what specifically you should be searching for.
I'm Amanda Starantino for the Now Indy. A new report by the Indiana Chamber highlights a problem in our state. The health of Hoosiers has fallen in national ranks, and that is impacting the ability to bring new business to Indiana. Our Alyssa Donovan has the details.
Every other year, the Indiana Chamber compares Indiana's scores in several categories to other states. And while we're seeing some improvements,
we rank 5th in the country of employees at foreign-owned affiliates.
There are some notable shortfalls.
Areas where we really need to improve is in health care.
Indiana's smoking rate increased, taking our rank from 39th worst in the country down to 44th worst. The obesity rate also went up, from 31 to 34% in 2 years, a rise noted in the report as alarming. We also rank 37th worst in drug-related deaths, the statistics painting a grim picture of the health of our citizens, impacting how attractive the state is for new businesses and people.
The healthcare metrics certainly are one of the factors not only businesses but individuals look at, whether it's a company or a person. If they're looking to relocate, that's one of the things that they take into consideration.
There are initiatives in place to combat the drug crisis in the state, and there have been efforts to decrease smoking. However, a bill that would have increased the tax on cigarettes in our state failed to pass earlier this year. I'm Alyssa Donovan, RTV6.
Alyssa, thanks. And right now, recall alert. If you stocked up early for a Father's Day cookout, you want to check your labels on several steak and beef products from Kroger. The company says they're recalling bone-in ribeye steaks and boneless ribeye steaks. The recall also impacts in-store produced ground beef with the labels you see on your screen. The meat is being recalled for possible E. coli contamination. The products were sold between April 23rd and June 7th. The recall impacts meat bought in southeastern Indiana stores. You can find all this info again on the RTV6 app. Attorney General Curtis Hill is continuing his fight to stop an unlicensed abortion clinic from opening in South Bend. While Women's Alliance is a Texas-based health group that wants to offer chemical abortions at a facility in South Bend. A judge previously ruled the clinic could open without a license while the courts considered the case. Last week, federal courts denied an appeal that would prevent the clinic from opening. The Attorney General has now taken the case even higher, submitting an appeal to the U.S. Court of Appeals. The health department denied the clinic a license because the nonprofit did not provide certain safety documents. A scary crash slowing down traffic on the south side. This happened around 8:30 this morning on I-465 westbound near the interchange with I-65. Police say a semi-truck hauling lumber overturned with part of the truck landing on at least 2 other vehicles. Some of the westbound lanes as well as the exit ramp to I-65 were closed for a while. Luckily, no injuries were reported in that crash. Kevin.
5:33 on this beautiful Tuesday afternoon. Just a few clouds around. Whatever clouds you see out your window now will be gone tonight when the sun sets, which isn't until 9:13. That will start to cool things off and the clouds will melt away. 77 in the Indianapolis, Kokomo, up in Howard County, 78. And the wind yesterday that was gusting to 30 miles per hour is very light today, and that makes it even more enjoyable. As far as our rain, nothing knocking on the door. Showers, thunderstorms well out to the west, but that will be our chance for rain later tomorrow, more likely tomorrow night. Temperatures comfortably in the middle to upper 70s with low humidity. Through the evening hours, the change will be down to 65, but skies stay clear by the time we get to 11 o'clock tonight. Talk about from tomorrow morning to the afternoon, a few changes that are on the way in the next 24 hours coming up.
More than 130 people die every day from opioid addiction. That's according to the government. Now the Food and Drug Administration is considering restricting high-dose opioids as a way to fight the deadly epidemic. Corey Rangel's taking a look at this proposal and the impact a former addict feels it could have.
A back injury started Katrina King's opioid addiction. It got so bad she spent 2 years behind bars after getting caught forging prescriptions. She blames being put on high-dose medication too strong for her injury.
With the extended release, introducing that into the picture at such a potent dose so early in my diagnosis without trying anything else, ended up being catastrophic.
Today, the FDA started a 2-day public hearing to get input on the benefits and risk associated with strong doses of opioids. Some have suggested the FDA remove high-dose opioids from the market to fight the current deadly epidemic. Others argue the strong meds are necessary to manage pain for some patients, and getting rid of it could worsen the pain, leading some to become suicidal.
We don't want to cause additional suffering, for people who have like unmanageable pain that does make them feel like they don't want to live anymore. On the other side of that, I would challenge the pharmaceutical industry and the FDA to challenge them to come up with other, methods of pain control.
The FDA will review public comments and decide whether to make any changes, which could include tougher regulations on reducing the use of high-dose opioids. I'm Corey Rangel reporting.
Corey, thank you. Let's start the news feed. And there's a new lawsuit over London's Grenfell Tower fire that killed 72 people in 2017. The suit claims that faulty building materials led to that fire spreading. Nearly 250 survivors and families now targeting American companies that made those products. David Ortiz now back in Boston after being shot in the Dominican Republic. Former Red Sox star is in a hospital recovering right now. He had part of his intestine and gallbladder taken out. Doctors say the 43-year-old could be in the ICU for a couple of days. 10 state attorneys general are trying to stop T-Mobile's takeover of Sprint. Now, this is a deal, it's massive, $26.5 billion. The states are concerned that this deal could hurt competition if it goes through. Let's get back to our lineup here on The Now. And one of the fastest growing groups of pot users, they may not be who you'd expect. We're talking about seniors, but there is a concern with this, what they may be missing by not including their doctors as part of the conversation.
At Ross, yes for less.
The trial of a young man charged with killing a 15-year-old 2 years ago did not last long. This morning, a judge declared a mistrial in the case of Eric Morris. Morris was charged with shooting Joshua Luttrell in 2017 on the southeast side of Indianapolis. Prosecutors say the shooting happened after Luttrell and another young man said they were planning to rob Morris of marijuana. RTV6 is still trying to find out why the judge declared a mistrial. Another attempt to try the case is scheduled for July 29th.
Let's start the news feed. The U.S. has officially put in an extradition request for Julian Assange to be brought to this country. The WikiLeaks founder is facing several hacking charges here. He's being held in the U.K. right now for jumping bail in 2012. Congress is launching its investigation into the biggest names in the tech world. The House Judiciary Committee is looking into the impact that tech giants have on news, media, and misinformation online. This is the first time that lawmakers have taken this kind of look into Silicon Valley. People in Canada will not see any new whales or dolphins in aquariums. The Canadian government banning the animals from being kept in captivity. More people are turning to marijuana to treat mental and physical issues. Despite more states legalizing weed, many people aren't comfortable talking about it, even with their doctor. Now, older adults are one of the fastest growing groups using cannabis. A new Colorado study found that there's really still a stigma attached to the drug, even in a state where weed's legal. Many people say they want to talk to their doctor about marijuana, yet they're reluctant to do it. And doctors say when patients are using marijuana but not telling them, it can create problems.
I think for the older adult, if we, as their physician, don't know that they are using medical marijuana or recreational marijuana to help with pain or anxiety, then there could be adverse events. There could be falls or confusion or untreated symptoms that could be more effectively treated if we knew that they were using marijuana to try to help.
The study says doctors need more information about the risks and benefits for older adults using marijuana. And there's new research showing that there's no proof medical marijuana brings down the amount of opioid deaths. Stanford researchers say that it may look like medical marijuana helps cut down on overdoses, but they say in states where medical marijuana is legal, people are likely to have higher income and better access to overdose treatments, which is what brings that number down. All right, next in our lineup here on The Now, another big business adding childcare benefits for employees. Why companies are feeling even more pressure to cater to families.
up for only $89.
On time.
With unemployment levels at some of their lowest in decades, employers are really upping the ante in terms of what they're offering to attract quality workers. Target, for example, just announcing that it's adding new childcare benefits and expanded paid family leave, which also goes for part-time workers. Chris Welch is taking a look at what they're offering and how this is becoming a trend in a pretty employee-friendly job market.
Starting this fall, full-time and part-time workers at Target will get 20 days of backup child care or elder care. Now, the company's parental leave policy is changing too. Instead of 2 weeks paid leave, employees will get up to 4 weeks annually to care for a newborn or sick family member.
The job market is definitely an employee-friendly market.
Job seekers can thank the 3.6% unemployment rate, the lowest it's been in 50 years, for playing a big part. Employers have to do more to attract quality workers. Best Buy added a similar backup child care plan last year, and several companies have upped their minimum wage.
Everybody's having to do something. Everyone's having to kind of add value to what they offer to employees in order to attract, some of the top talent and people that are going to stay with the company long term.
Molly Vigil runs employment agency The Employment Firm and says keeping people long term is key. One, because training new employees is costly, but two, because it makes a company more successful in the long run.
It adds a lot of value to the company when you've got a staff that really, knows a lot about the company, knows what they're doing, and can just add a lot of value to what they're doing every single day.
I'm Chris Welch reporting.
Chris, thank you. And we do hear a lot about the pay gap between men and women, yet there are some new findings that are shedding light on another salary problem that you really don't hear as much about. Women reach their peak earning potential more than a decade before men. Women on average, they make the most they'll ever make by age 44. And for men, they'll keep getting raises till around 55, according to this research. PayScale, which is a salary website, found that women's peak salary, it's around $67,000, while a man's more than $100,000. Now, there are a lot of credit cards that are out there, and you do hear a lot of offers from credit card companies, yet now Amazon is getting into this business. The company announced the Amazon Credit Builder Card. We went over the pros and cons of this with creditcards.com to figure out, if it's really worth it. Well, the good, they say, you can get approved if you've been rejected for a standard credit card. The bad is you do have to put in a cash deposit, and another con with that is that deposit can't be used for online shopping or payments. Now, you do get 5% cash back on what you buy on Amazon, and you also build positive credit history when you pay on time. Something to remember, though, if you don't pay it off each month, Amazon will hit you with a monster 28% interest rate, which is pretty high. The card can only be used to buy things on Amazon.
I do think, though, that Amazon has hit on something different and interesting because they're a really big retailer that sells a ton of stuff. So I think that limits the downside of only being able to use it at one store.
Now, after 7 months of positive payments with this card, you could upgrade to the Amazon Store traditional credit card. You get your deposit back if you do that, or you close the card. Now, there are other starter credit cards if you're not an Amazon shopper. The Pedal card, for example, uses your bank account and bills like your cell phone to get you approved. That card just added cashback benefits as well, and they get bigger as you make more payments on time. And you can also set your own spending limits to keep you out of debt.
For the first time, we know how much Indianapolis Public Schools is paying to settle 2 lawsuits over its handling of the case involving a counselor who had sex with students. Call 6 Investigates has learned that IPS paid out 2 settlements in the case of Shanna Taylor. One of them totaled $500,000 and went to 2 IPS employees who had sued the school district because they were fired during the investigation. The other settlement was for $95,000 and went to one of the underage students who had sex with Taylor. Taylor reached a plea deal with prosecutors in which she would serve 6 years of home detention, but would not have to register as a sex offender. And the City Council in Carmel wants to hear from you before making a decision about e-cigarettes. This week, the council postponed a committee vote to regulate vaping devices. The proposal broadens the definition of smoking to include vaping. It would also ban e-cigs from all public places in Carmel, including libraries, malls, and sports arenas. Those in favor of the rules say e-cigs are more harmful than advertised. The council will hold another committee meeting on the issue and open it to the public comment before voting.
How about that sunshine, low humidity? All these pieces of the weather puzzle come together perfectly today. Very enjoyable. Tuesday afternoon into Tuesday evening will stay dry and relatively cool tonight, with our temperatures dropping back into the 50s, mid-50s. I show you the radar, not because we need it tonight, but I think tomorrow night our chance for rain and some thunderstorms will return into Thursday morning. Then we'll move on before that rain chance comes back over the weekend. Temperature trend, let's look at the next 12 hours. We're up here at 77 degrees. We'll cool off about 20 degrees by tomorrow morning. The mid to high level clouds really about all that we have now. It's like a little filter or dimmer switch on the sunshine, but should lead to a good looking sunset this evening. 9:13 is the magic time. 80 in Muncie. Otherwise, upper 70s for temperatures right now, and the wind much lighter than it was 24 hours ago at this time. During the day tomorrow, clouds will increase through the day. A slow increase in our chance for any rain, though. I think if you want to try to mow the lawn after work tomorrow, more than likely you'll be fine to do that. After 8, 9 o'clock, our chances for rain will continue to go up. There are the temperatures tomorrow, competitive with today. 11 o'clock tomorrow night, isolated showers and thunderstorms. Here comes the rain into the morning hours on Thursday. That's mid-morning. Then that rain will push off to the east, and it will just be a much cooler day Thursday, and windy. 57 in the morning. We only warm into the mid-60s, and we'll have that northwest wind gusting 20 to 30 miles per hour.
Marijuana legalization may be hurting medical marijuana programs. The Associated Press found that these programs lost more than half their registered patients just a few years after recreational pot became legalized. Medical marijuana patients are now paying more for the same drugs, and others found it more difficult to find specific strains of the drug. That's because other forms of cannabis products are taking over dispensaries. Now, despite marijuana being a multi-billion-dollar industry, dispensaries still can't put money in the bank, and that's because of federal laws. Kai Beach shows us how all that cash is being handled, and who's guarding it may surprise you.
So 20, 30, 40, 50.
There's a lot of money in marijuana.
All the 5s and 10s.
And a lot of dispensaries only deal with cash.
I think between like 30 to 50,000 a week.
Call it 40, do the math, and Nature's Herb in Denver is handling more than $2 million a year. All of it cold, hard cash.
$1 million, billion-dollar industry, and you know, there's so much moving parts and so much money that can happen.
And moving that amount of money is the biggest challenge for dispensaries around the country.
So the big issue is that marijuana is still not legal under federal law, which means a lot of dispensaries, well, they can't open accounts with traditional banks, which means they got to take all the cash that they're making and transport it somewhere safe.
Our background's in former law enforcement, former military. We're trained in transport procedures.
John DeLue has gone from busting people for weed as a deputy sheriff to now moving both pot and pop money for licensed dealers.
You were taught as a cop that weed was bad and marijuana was bad and you shouldn't have anything to do with it. And then we left law enforcement and started in the weed industry, so it was a big change.
His team, Helix Security, wouldn't show us how they transport money and marijuana, but they did tell us. They use armed security guards to take bags of cash and weed to an armored truck and drive it to wherever the dispensary's owners want it, including private vaults. And his team is making big bucks transporting big buds.
We've grown 4 or 5-fold since we started in 2015. We've went from a few $100,000 a year in revenue to now somewhere around $4.5 to $5 million in revenue.
And as more states legalize marijuana, more people might soon be using these services.
$8.34 in that loyalty account.
I'm Kai Beach reporting.
Hi, thank you. Let's turn to the Now News feed. Baby boomers take a lot of heat when it comes to concerns about Social Security, but there's a new study saying they really aren't the ones to blame. This research is from Boston College, and it says that those who benefited from the program when it was created back in the 30s are leading to issues today. The study's saying they're receiving more money than they put in. The band Radiohead is not giving in to blackmailers. The band releasing hours of music stolen by hackers. These hackers demanded $150,000, but Radiohead just decided to release the music instead. You can buy it for $18 over the next 18 days, and money goes to an environmental activist group. It's getting harder to tell which burgers are actually made from real meat. The company Beyond Meat putting out what it calls a meteor burger patty. That patty, it's made from plant-based protein, tastes like the real thing, but instead it's made from ingredients like coconut oil, apple extract, and rice protein. All right, next in our lineup, there are places that you may not have thought about where you could find money that belongs to you. We're going to show you where and what you should be searching for.